The grand ballroom shimmered with gold and champagne light, the air humming with the sound of laughter, gossip, and clinking crystal glasses. Every guest who entered that evening came to admire the Lee family's wealth, and most eyes predictably found their way to Serena Lee. She was stunning, loud in her beauty, a woman who loved being watched. Her laughter carried across the hall like a melody crafted to make heads turn, yet aimed all the sparkle. One figure remained quietly unnoticed. You, standing near the edge of the marble staircase, you sipped your drink silently, your gaze unfocused as though you were merely surviving the night rather than enjoying it. You were not dressed to impress. Your soft ivory gown whispered elegance instead of shouting it, and perhaps that was why he noticed you. Jungkook, the infamous name whispered in criminal circles like both a prayer and a threat, the youngest yet most feared mafia king in Seoul, every move he made carried weight, even his silence drew attention. Tonight, though, it wasn't the power in his presence that drew stares, it was where his attention rested on you. His underboss, Namjoon, leaned slightly toward him. Sir, that's the younger Lee girl, Serena's stepsister, I think. Jungkook didn't respond at first. His dark eyes followed the way your fingers curled around your glass. The shy way you tucked a loose strand of hair behind your ear. It wasn't lust, it was something darker, possession. Find out who she is. Namjoon blinked, already did, Wine Lee. The quiet one barely attends social gatherings. Jungkook's lips curved faintly, but there was no warmth in it, only calculation. She's mine. Namjoon hesitated. Should I? No, not yet. You touch her, you die. You speak to her, you die. You look at her too long. He paused, his gaze flicking to one of his men who immediately looked away. And I'll make sure you remember why my name matters. Namjoon's throat tightened, a bead of sweat forming despite the air conditioned hall. Understood, sir. Jungkook's attention returned to you, studying the soft curve of your jaw as you turned to greet a family friend. Your smile was fleeting, shy, the kind that could shatter a monster's patience. He took a slow sip of whiskey, voice low, meant only for himself. She just doesn't know it yet. You felt it, that strange prickle on the back of your neck, the sensation of being watched. Your eyes scanned the crowd, meeting countless strangers until they landed on him. Tall, impeccably dressed in a black tailor suit, his stare cold and blinking, locked with yours across the room. For a brief second, your breath caught, you looked away quickly, trying to convince yourself you were imagining it. Get a grip, he's probably not even looking at you. But when you dare glance again, he was still watching. Serena appeared beside you, her perfume filling the air like a weapon. You are staring at the wrong man, little sister. That's Jun Chongkook, dangerous. You would do well to avoid him. Her voice held a teasing lilt, but underneath it, jealousy. She had noticed where his eyes lingered, and it unsettled her. You smiled faintly, feigning indifference. Don't worry, Serena, I don't plan to attract anyone's attention, and yet you always do without trying. It's annoying. She turned away, her heels clicking against the marble floor, but Jungkook's gaze followed you still. Namjoon spoke quietly, noticing his boss' unrelenting focus. She's off limits, right? Jungkook's jaw flexed, off limits to everyone but me. As the night wore on, you tried to escape the crowd, stepping onto the terrace for a moment of calm. The cool air kissed your skin, the sound of distant city lights echoing below. You thought you were alone until a voice, slow and smooth, sliced through the quiet. You shouldn't be out here alone, Miss Lee. You froze, turning your eyes wide as you came face to face with him, closer than you had imagined. His presence was suffocating yet strangely magnetic. I needed some air. You breathe differently when you're laying. Your heart stumbled in your chest. He took a step closer, the scent of whiskey and smoke curling between you. His voice was calm, yet there was something predatory beneath it. You don't belong in their world, do you? And what world do I belong to, Mr. Jones? Mine. He said it so simply as though it were already a fact. You exhaled shakily, unsure whether to laugh or run. You don't even know me. Jungkook's lips twitched, almost amused. I will. And with that, he turned and disappeared into the ballroom, leaving you standing there, pulse unsteady as if the night itself had just claimed you. The morning sunlight barely filtered through the mansion's tall glass windows. But the tension inside your home was already suffocating. Your stepfather's voice echoed down the marble hall like a verdict being reached. Wine, sit down. There is something we need to discuss. You obeyed quietly, folding your hands in your lap. Heart heavy, Sabrina sat beside you, her lips painted in an almost mocking shade of red. Pretending interest as she sipped her tea, Mr. Lee exhaled deeply, rubbing his temples. You have heard of June Jungkook. At that name, your stomach dropped. Memories of the gala flooded your mind that suffocating stare. The way his voice had wrapped around your name like a chain. The Mafia King. He's more than that. Wine, he's influence, power, and money, and he's interested in you. The words hung in the air like poison. You blinked, trying to process it. Interested? How? We barely. He's made an order, marriage. In exchange, our debts disappear. The room tilted slightly. You felt Serena's sharp gaze on you. Her expression unreadable, except for the faint flicker of envy she tried to hide behind a sweet smile. Marriage to him, Daddy, that's absurd. Wine doesn't even. Enough, Serena, we don't have a choice. His tone was final. You stared down at your trembling hands. It felt like your breath had been stolen. So I'm just for sale now. No one answered. That evening, your life began to twist into something unrecognizable. Expensive black cars started showing up outside the mansion. Anonymous gifts arrived at your door, diamond necklaces, white roses, letters written in a dark, elegant hand. Wear white more often, it looks better when I ruin it. You hide the letters under your pillow, terrified your family might read them. Every few nights you would catch sight of a black silhouette near the garden wall, standing still, watching. You told yourself it wasn't him, you told yourself he couldn't be that obsessed. But deep down you knew one night you couldn't sleep. The moonlight spilled across the hallway as you made your way to the study, hoping to find something to calm your thoughts. But when you opened the door, you froze. Jungkook stood there, his black shirt sleeves were rolled to his elbows, and a gun rested casually in his gloved hand. The metallic smell of blood clung to their air on the floor. One of your stepfather's step collectors lay unconscious, whimpering faintly. Your voice broke. What are you doing here? Jungkook looked up slowly, his expression calm, too calm. Settling what belongs to me. You took a step back, horrified. You hurt him. He spoke about you. What? Jungkook's jaw tightened. He said your name in a way I didn't like. He lowered the gun, wiping the blood from his hand with a silk handkerchief as though nothing had happened. You shouldn't see this side of me, Angel. You swallowed hard, tears pricking at the corners of your eyes. You are dangerous. He stepped closer, and for a moment you thought he might kill you too. Instead, he reached out and brushed a strand of hair behind your ear, gentle, almost tender. Dangerous for everyone but you. Your chest tightened. You wanted to hate him, to scream, to run, but something about his eyes held you still. There was darkness in them, yes, but also something unbearably human. You can't force me to love you. His lips curved into a ghost of a smile. Do you think a wedding can change my mind? You blinked, confused. He could run to the end of the world wine. He leaned closer, his voice a whisper against your skin, and I would still find you. The next morning, the engagement was officially announced. Reporters flooded the gates. Society pages called it the union of power and beauty. And your stepfather smiled for the cameras like he hadn't just sold his daughter to a man capable of murder. Serena stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her tone dripping venom. You have no idea what you have gotten yourself into, sister. He's not marrying you because he loves you, he's marrying you because he wants to own you. You looked at her reflection in the mirror, the envy, the resentment. Then maybe you should have said yes when he didn't ask you. Her face fell, lips parting in shock, but you didn't care because deep down you knew she was right and that terrified you. The morning of your wedding arrived wrapped in gold sunlight and a haunting silence that didn't feel right. The mansion was filled with laughter, music, and the sweet scent of white roses, symbols of purity that felt almost mocking. You sat in front of the mirror, your reflection pale, motionless. The makeup artist worked quietly, her hands trembling slightly as if she too could sense the storm brewing beneath all this elegance. Behind you, Serena entered the room, her wet silk robe brushing against the carpet like a warning. Her smile was sharp, too polished, too perfect. You looked nervous, dear sister. You didn't respond, eyes still fixed on the mirror. Wouldn't you be? I'm marrying a man I barely know. Serena laughed softly. Oh, but you do know him, don't you? The whole world knows John Jungkook, the devil in a tailor suit. You're lucky, wine, some girls would kill for his attention. You turned to face her, your voice calm but edged with truth. Then maybe you should have taken my place. For a second, her expression cracked, the jealousy playing through her charm. She moved closer, resting a manicured hand on your shoulder. Careful what you wished for, sister. Sometimes the devil answers. Before you could respond, your maid entered with a tray of tea. Miss Wine, something to calm your nerves. You smiled faintly, lifting the cup. The taste was oddly sweet, too sweet. Within minutes, your vision blurred. The last thing you saw Before darkness followed, you watched Serena's faint smirk reflected in the mirror. When you woke, the room was dim and silent. Your wrists were bound, your mouth gagged. You tried to scream, but only muffled sounds escaped. Panic surged through you as realization struck Serena had taken your place. Outside, church bells rang. The wedding had begun. The grand cathedral was a spectacle of light and gold. Jungkook stood at the altar dressed in a black suit, his expression unreadable, calm, cold, impossibly composed. The bride, veiled in white lace, approached slowly down the aisle. Cameras flashed, guests whispered in awe, but Jungkook's gaze never softened. Something felt wrong. When she reached him, he extended his hand. She hesitated before placing hers in his. Her fingers trembled. Jungkook's jaw tensed. "You are shaking." Serena, hiding under your veil, forced a small laugh. "It's just nervous." He leaned closer. "My bride doesn't tremble." The priest began to speak, but Jungkook's focus was elsewhere on the way her perfume was different, the way her voice quivered, the way her silence didn't sound like you. When the time came for the private vow exchange, Jungkook signaled for the doors to close. The guests fell silent as he stepped toward her, eyes narrowing. "Look at me," Serena froze. Of course, but she didn't lift her gaze. That was enough. In one swift motion, Jungkook reached forward and pulled the veil from her face. The fabric fell away, revealing Serena's terrified expression. The silence that followed was suffocating. His voice was deadly calm. "Where is she?" Serena's lips trembled. I'm your bride. "No, you are a mistake that needs fixing." He turned to his men, fury flashing in his eyes. "Find her now." The guards scattered instantly. Serena tried to reach for him. "Please, Jungkook, listen. You just sign your own punishment. Pray I find her before I decide what to do with you." Outside the mansion, the rain had begun to fall soft at first, then heavier, as though the sky itself was mourning. You sat trembling in the small locked room, tears streaming down your face until you heard footsteps heavy, fast, deliberate. The door burst open and there he was, Jungkook. His black suit was soaked, his hair damp from rain. His jaw was clenched, his eyes wild. When his gaze found you, the furrow in them cracked in something unrecognizable relief. He crossed the room in three strides, cutting the ropes from your wrist. You flinched. When his fingers brushed your skin, she she drudged me. I tried. Chunguk pulled you against him, his hand pressing to the back of your head, voice low, almost shaking. "Don't speak, don't apologize, you're safe now." "You're angry?" "Not at you, never at you." He pulled back just enough to look at your face, his thumb brushing away a tear. "If I had walked another minute with her beside me, I would have burned this entire city to the ground." You swallowed hard, heart pounding against his chest. "You would have killed her." Chunguk's lips barely moved, "and I still might." You shook your head, terrified. "Chunguk, please." He exhaled, his furry dimming, replaced by something else, something darker yet oddly tender. "You don't understand why I don't get angry because you were taken. I get angry because I felt it the moment you were not near me. Like my body forgot how to breathe." Your breath hissed as his hand lingered on your cheek, his voice lowering to a whisper. No one replaces you, not in this world, not in any. And in that moment, in the quiet cues of rain and ruin, you realize that most terrifying truth of all, he didn't just want you, he belonged to you in a way that no amount of power or violence could ever undo. The mansion had turned into a prison of chandelier and locked doors. Outside, the rain fell in sheets, the kind that blurred the world into silver streaks. Inside, silence pressed down like a weight until Serena's voice shattered it. She knelt on the floor of Jungkook's steady mascara streak, wrists bound with a single silk ribbon. The sight of her trembling should have stirred pity, but in Jungkook's presence, compassion seemed to dissolve. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I just wanted. You wanted what was mine. His tone was low, but every word cracked like thunder. He leaned against the edge of his desk, the faintest smirk ghosting his mouth. Tell me who helped you, every name, every lie. Serena's shoulders shook. No one, I planned it alone. Jungkook nodded slowly, then looked toward the guards. Leave us. The door closed. You stood near the wall, half hidden by the shadows. You hadn't mean to listen, but something in his voice kept you there. You love her, don't you? Jungkook's eyes flicked toward you before returning to Serena. Love? He almost laughed. You wouldn't understand what that word costs in my words. He crouched, his voice turning quiet and frighteningly calm. If you ever try to touch her life again, I'll make sure you live long enough to regret it. When Serena was dragged away, the echo of his threat lingered in the hall like smoke. You stepped forward hesitantly. You didn't have to be so cruel. Cruel, he turned to you, eyes dark and unreadable. I'm alive because I'm cruel, and you're alive because I am. That night, you couldn't stay in that house another second. The rain hadn't stopped, it hammered against the glass like impatient hands. You slipped on a thin coat and crept through the dim corridor, the storm outside matching the storm in your chest. Every step toward the back door felt like a rebellion. Then you heard his voice behind you, low, tired, unmistakable. Warning again, Angel. You froze, turning slowly. You saw him at the end of the hallway, hair damp, shirt unbuttoned, at the collar eyes unreadable. You can't keep me here. I'm not keeping you, I'm keeping the world from touching you. You backed away until your shoulders hit the cold wall. He walked closer, silent except for the soft sound of rain dripping from his coat. When he stepped inches away, the air itself seemed to think, you scare me. He tilted his head, studying you like a puzzle. He already knew the answer to. Good, that means you understand who owns your fear. The words made you shiver, but his hand lifted not to hurt, but to trace a stray drop of rain from your jaw to your throat. His touch was possessive, yet oddly careful. No one touches what's mine, not even fate. For a moment, neither of you moved. The rain outside softened. The storm inside you didn't. When he finally stepped back, his voice was almost gentle. Go ahead, try to leave tomorrow if you still want to. But tonight, stay where it's safe. And then he turned away, leaving you trembling between fear and something far more complicated, an emotion that felt like the edge of warmth in the middle of a thunderstorm. Weeks passed, but the mansion never returned to peace. You could feel the shift in the air, servants whispering, guards moving in pairs. Chunguk spending long hours behind closed doors. His empire was beginning to crack, though no one dared to say it aloud. Sabrina had vanished the night she was cast out. For a while, it felt as if she had simply dissolved into the city's underbelly. But Jungkook knew better. She's too proud to disappear quietly. He had murmured once, eyes fixed on the air-streaked windows. He was right. The first warning came as a rumor. Confidential raid routes exposed a warehouse raided. Then came the video grainy footage of Jungkook's men dealing the black markets, broadcast anonymously online. By the time his underboss traced the leak, it was too late. Half of Seoul's underground families wanted blood. It's her boss, Serena Lee. She's selling information to the Russians. Jungkook's hand tightened around his glass until it cracked. She thinks she can hurt me through paper and whispers. She'll learn I played for only one thing. He meant you. That night you found him in his office, eyes red rimmed from sleepless nights, documents littered the desk, maps marked in black ink. Jungkook, call it off. You can fix this another way. There is no other way. You destroy threats, you don't negotiate with them. Before you could reply, the lights flickered, a sharp poppy quote from somewhere outside. Jungkook's expression shifted instantly from exhaustion to alarm. Stay here, he didn't make it to the door before the glass shattered. Smoke flooded the room, masked man poured in, strong arms yanked you backward, a cloth pressed to your face. The last thing you heard was Jungkook shouting your name before darkness took you. You woke to the sound of waves and metal chains clanging against each other, a warehouse, maybe near the docks. Serena's perfume hit you before her voice did. Oh, sweet sister, did you really think I would let him have the happy ending I deserved? You're insane. No, just practical. He'll come for you, and when he does, his empire burns with him. Her smile faltered for a heartbeat. He chose you over me. Let's see what he chooses when you are the price of his power. He came before dawn. No negotiation, no warning, just the roar of engines and the crash of fire. His men moved through the docks like shadows gunfire echoed against the sea. When he appeared in the doorway, smoke curling around him, he looked less like a man and more like judgment itself. Serena's weapons trembled in her hand. One more step and she dies. Chunguk's voice was calm, deadly quiet. Then we all die here. He raised his gun, but instead of aiming at Serena, he fired at the fuel drums stacked behind her. Flames erupted instantly, painting the room in red and gold. Chaos followed shouts, heat, the smell of burning wood. You stumbled as he reached you, cutting your ropes, pulling you into his arms. Look at me, breathe. You will be trapped. I built this kingdom, I can burn it. He guided you through the smoke, shielding you with his body until you reached the waiting car. Behind you, the dogs blazed, consuming everything Serena had tried to use against him. From the car window, you watched the fire swallow the horizon. You destroyed everything. Jungkook's hand found yours, steady but shaking, everything except you. He didn't look back as the flames rose higher. The empire he had spent a lifetime building was gone, but the only thing that mattered sat beside him, alive, and that to him was victory. The mansion stood half empty, now walls stripped of portraits, rooms silent except for the echo of rain tapping against the glass. Jungkook's empire had fallen, yet somehow he seemed calmer, aimed the ruins. He didn't attend meetings anymore, didn't bark orders, didn't threaten. He simply existed like a ghost haunting his own kingdom. You often found him sitting on the edge of his desk at dawn, a glass of whiskey untouched beside him, his gaze lost in the grey morning light. There was something different in his silence now, less vague, More exhaustion, and in that quiet, you begin to see him not the mafia king, but the broken man he tried so hard to bury. One evening, you brought him coffee instead of his usual drink. You have been awake for 2 nights, you will get sick. Jungkook's eyes lifted to yours, unreadable. You still care? I shouldn't. He gave a faint smile, one that didn't reach his eyes, and yet you do. The room felt heavy, thick with things neither of you dared to say. You watched the flickering fireplace light catch the edge of his jaw, his features carved in equal parts beauty and cruelty. You can't keep doing this, controlling everything. Everyone, it's not love, Jungkook, it's obsession. He still for a moment, the word seemed to hold its breath. Then he rose from his chair, slowly, every movement deliberate, predatory. Maybe it is. His voice was quiet, almost tender, that there was steel beneath it. He stepped closer until his presence pressed into your space, until you could feel the warmth of his breath against your skin. Then let me be obsessed. You froze, your heart beating too fast, too loud. Because losing you would kill me before any bullet could. He didn't touch you, not this time. He just looked at you as though memorizing every detail before the word could take you away. For the first time, his eyes were not cold, they were tired, desperate, and filled with something frighteningly human. You could see it's now the trauma behind his violence, the loneliness behind his arrogance, the way every act of control was just a twisted attempt to keep from being left alone again. And in that realization, your anger softened even if your fear didn't. You can't own people, Jungkook. I know, but if I could own time, I would face this moment with you still here. You turned away before he could see the tear that slipped down your cheek. He didn't stop you for once, he let you walk away. And that, more than any word, was the first real proof that somewhere in his darkness he was learning what love truly means.